The night sky was heavy with clouds, and the moon hid behind them like a shy child. The great human kingdom of Eloria was alive with the sound of music, laughter, and celebration. Torches lined the castle walls, and golden banners waved proudly in the wind. Inside the castle, nobles danced in silken clothes, cups of wine in their hands, joy painted on their faces. But far from the glitter and warmth of the celebration, in the silent gardens that bordered the castle walls, a pair of red eyes glimmered in the darkness. Her name was Serenia. She was not one of the noble guests. She was not even human. Serenia was a vampire, trained from her first breath to become a spy. She belonged to the Shadow Court, a council of ancient vampires who had long plotted against humankind. For centuries, her people had lived in secret caves, surviving on the edge of hunger, while humans thrived in sunlight and built kingdoms of power. The Shadow Court whispered that balance would never return unless humans were broken from within. Their plan was clear: send a spy into the heart of Eloria, into the life of its future ruler, the young Prince Kalen. Serenia's mission was not simple spying. It was seduction, deception, and betrayal. She was to win the prince's trust, steal the secrets of the human army, and deliver them to her people. Her every word, her every look was meant to be a weapon sharper than any blade. Yet as she watched the castle windows glowing with music and light, Serenia felt a strange tightness in her chest. It was not fear. She had never feared humans. It was something she could not name. She shook her head, brushing away the feeling. This is weakness. Weakness has no place in my mission. Slipping through the garden shadows, she moved like smoke. Her dress was simple but elegant, stolen from a noble woman she had left sleeping under a subtle spell. Her black hair shimmered faintly in the torchlight, her pale skin smooth as moonlit marble. If anyone saw her, they would think her merely another guest arriving late. Serenia entered the castle hall. The sound of music swelled around her, and dozens of faces turned. But no one suspected her. Humans, she thought bitterly, were blind. They saw only what they wished to see. At the far end of the hall, sitting on a raised chair beneath the great golden banner of Eloria, was Prince Kalen. He was younger than she had expected. No older than 20 summers, with dark brown hair that curled slightly at his neck and sharp green eyes that carried both caution and kindness. His shoulders were strong, his posture noble, but his gaze betrayed weariness. He was dressed in silver and white, but he did not smile like the others. For a moment, Serenia's breath caught. She reminded herself that he was just a human boy, yet something in his eyes seemed older, heavier, as though he carried a burden larger than his years. The plan was simple. She had to get close. Serenia moved gracefully across the hall, weaving through dancers and bowing nobles. Every step she took, she felt eyes on her, drawn by her presence. She knew how to command attention. Her beauty was her armor, her voice her weapon. At last, she stood before the prince. "Your Highness," she said softly. Lowering her head in a perfect bow, Kalen's eyes lifted to her. For a moment, silence hung between them, broken only by the music and laughter around them. "Rise," he said, his voice calm. "I do not know your face." "Who are you?" Serenia smiled, the kind of smile that promised mystery but revealed nothing. "A traveler, my lord. A daughter of a distant house. I came to see the beauty of Eloria's heart. I did not expect to see such grace upon its throne." It was a practiced line, one of many she had memorized. But to her surprise, Kalen did not blush or smirk as other men did. He studied her quietly, his green eyes searching hers. "You speak like one who has traveled far," he said. "Tell me, what beauty do you see in Eloria?" Serenia blinked. No one had ever asked her such a question before. Humans usually fell for her charm without thought, but this prince, he wanted an answer. She glanced around, her eyes taking in the glittering hall, the noble guests, the banners, the music. She thought of giving him another sweet line, another empty compliment. But instead, words rose unbidden. "I see people who are not afraid to laugh," she said softly. "I see joy that does not hide in shadows. I see a kingdom that believes tomorrow will be brighter than today." The truth startled her as much as it startled him. Kalen's lips curved into the faintest smile. "That is a rare way to see us. Most strangers see only pride and arrogance here." Serenia lowered her gaze quickly, hiding the flicker of warmth that stirred in her chest. She reminded herself this was her mission. She was not here to admire him, yet Kalen rose from his seat and offered her his hand. Will you join me for a walk, Lady Traveler? These halls grow loud, and I wish for quieter air. The hall gasped slightly as the prince left his throne, ignoring the nobles who whispered among themselves. But Kalen did not care. He led Serenia through a side door into the cool night air of the castle gardens. The stars had begun to break through the clouds, and the fountains sparkled faintly. The music of the hall faded behind them. For the first time in her long life, Serenia felt uncertain. Alone with him, she could strike now. She could press her spell upon his mind, draw out his secrets, and return to the Shadow Court as a victor. But when she looked at him, she did not see an enemy. She saw a young man who carried sorrow in his eyes. "You are not like the others," Kalen said quietly. "You do not ask me for favor or power. You look at me as if I am human." The words struck her like a blade. If only he knew the truth, that she was not human, that she had come to destroy him. Serenia forced a smile. "And what is wrong with being human, my lord?" Kalen turned his gaze to the stars. "To be human is to carry the weight of so many lives. My father is ill. My council fights over power, and I am asked to lead before I am ready. Everyone expects me to smile. But sometimes, I wish I could be seen for what I am. Just a man." His honesty left her silent. She had been taught that humans were greedy, arrogant, blind. But here was a prince speaking with no mask, no shield. His loneliness was clear, his weariness deep. And in that moment, Serenia felt something dangerous. She felt pity. Pity was not in her training. Pity was weakness. Yet as Kalen turned to her, his green eyes lit by starlight, Serenia's heart stirred in a way she had never known. She told herself it was nothing. A passing moment. But deep inside, she knew something had already shifted. For the first time in her mission, she forgot the Shadow Court. She forgot the secrets she was meant to steal. She forgot the weapon she was meant to be. All she saw was a boy beneath the crown, a lonely soul in need of kindness. And without meaning to, she gave him her first true smile. The night air carried the scent of roses and damp earth. The garden fountains whispered softly, and the torches flickered against stone walls. Serenia walked beside Prince Kalen, her dark eyes fixed on him while her mind fought itself. She had been trained for centuries for this moment. Her mission was clear: enter the prince's heart, win his trust, and bring ruin to his kingdom. Yet as she walked beside him, she felt as though the ground beneath her had shifted. The prince was not arrogant or cruel like she had expected. He was gentle. He was honest, and he carried sadness that weighed heavier than any crown. Kalen glanced at her as they walked. His green eyes, though calm, carried shadows. "You have not told me your name," he said softly. Serenia hesitated. She had many names. Each mission, each disguise required a new mask. This time she had chosen the name Serenia for her mission. But when he asked, the name felt heavy, like a stone pressing against her heart. "Serenia," she answered at last, her voice smooth. "A beautiful name," Kalen said, though there was no charm in his tone, only sincerity. "It suits you." His words startled her more than any blade. She was used to flattery, false admiration, and shallow compliments from men. But Kalen's voice was different. He did not say it to gain her favor. He said it as though he truly meant it. They reached the fountain at the center of the garden. Its water shimmered beneath the stars, and Kalen stopped, leaning against the stone edge. "Tell me, Serenia," he said, his gaze resting on the water. "What do you see when you look at the night?" She blinked, caught off guard by the question. No one had ever asked her such a thing. "The night?" she echoed. "Yes." Kalen's lips curved slightly. "Most nobles see only darkness or the fear of what hides in it. But you seem different. I wish to know what your eyes see." Serenia looked up at the sky. The stars glimmered faintly above, scattered like silver dust. She had spent her entire life in the night. To her, the night was safety. It was her home, her strength, her cloak. But what could she tell him? Could she say the truth? That she was a child of the night, born to shadows, raised to hunt in silence? No, she could not. And yet another truth slipped from her lips before she could stop it. "I see freedom," she whispered. "The night is a place where no one demands, no one commands. It is quiet, endless, and alive. It hides both sorrow and hope." Kalen turned to her slowly, his eyes softening. "You speak as though you know what it is to be trapped." The word struck her chest like an arrow. She opened her mouth to answer, but no sound came. She had been trapped all her life. Trapped by duty, by blood, by the chains of her people's hunger and anger. Instead, she only looked away. Kaelin's voice broke the silence again, low and thoughtful. I envy the night sometimes. I envy its freedom. Here in this castle, I am never alone. There are always eyes, always expectations. A prince is not allowed to be just a man. His words carried a sorrow that tightened her chest. She should not care. She should not listen. But something inside her stirred. A faint ache. A reflection of her own chains. You sound lonely, she said softly. Kaelin's eyes flickered, as though he had not expected anyone to see it so plainly. Perhaps I am, but I cannot show it. My people need a strong heir. They cannot see weakness in me. Serenia looked at him then, really looked, not as a target, not as a prince, but as a boy carrying a weight too heavy for his shoulders. And for a moment her mission slipped from her thoughts. He is just a human, she told herself. A human prince, nothing more. But her heart whispered something else. The sound of laughter drifted from the castle hall, faint but clear. Kaelin sighed. Soon they will look for me. They always do. He paused, then turned toward her. But before I go, tell me, why did you really come here tonight? Serenia froze. Her mind raced. She had prepared many lies. She could say she was a noble traveler, a distant cousin of some foreign house, a lost maiden seeking shelter. But under the weight of his gaze, those lies stuck in her throat. She faltered. Her tongue betrayed her, choosing words she had not planned. I came to see if hope still lives in this world. Kaelin's eyes widened slightly, then softened. And did you find it? She looked at him, at his tired yet sincere face, and for reasons she could not understand, she whispered, Perhaps. The silence stretched between them, gentle and fragile. Then Kaelin reached into his cloak and drew out a small silver chain. At its center hung a simple charm, an etched star. This was my mother's, he said. She believed that even in the darkest nights, one star could guide the lost. I keep it as a reminder. He looked at her, his voice warm. Take it, Serenia. Her eyes widened. I cannot. You can, Kaelin said firmly. If you came seeking hope, let this be your reminder that it still exists. That not all is lost. Her hand trembled as he placed the chain in her palm. The silver was cool, the charm light, yet it felt heavier than stone. No one had ever given her such a gift. Not in truth. Not with kindness. She swallowed, her throat tight. Why would you give this to me? Kaelin's lips curved into a faint smile. Because you looked at me as if I were more than a crown, and because you need it more than I do. For the first time in centuries, Serenia felt tears prick her eyes. She turned her face away quickly, hiding them. Vampires did not weep. They were shadows, blades, whispers in the dark. Yet here she was, trembling because of a human prince. Kaelin stepped back, his gaze gentle. I must return before they send guards to search for me. But I hope we will speak again, Serenia. She nodded, unable to trust her voice. As he walked away, the silver star lay warm in her palm. She stared at it, her chest heavy with emotions she did not want to feel. She was a spy, a weapon, a daughter of shadows. But Kaelin's kindness had cracked something inside her. When he vanished back into the castle, Serenia sank onto the fountain's edge. The chain still clutched in her hand. She remembered the Shadow Court's command. Win his trust. Use his heart. Break him before dawn. But as the night deepened and the stars grew brighter, she realized something terrifying. She did not want to break him. For the first time, Serenia feared her own heart more than the wrath of her masters. The next evening, Serenia stood alone in her chamber at the edge of the castle. The silver star the prince had given her rested in her hand, its charm catching the faint candlelight. She had not let it go since he placed it there. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Kaelin's face, his weary smile, his soft voice, the way he looked at her as though she were more than a mask. And every time she remembered, her heart tightened. This is not who you are, she told herself. You are a spy. You are a daughter of shadows. His kindness is nothing but a weakness waiting to destroy you. But no matter how many times she repeated the words, her chest ached. A knock at her door pulled her from her thoughts. She turned sharply, hiding the charm beneath her sleeve. A pale shadow slipped through the door as it opened. The air grew colder, heavier. The figure wore a cloak of black, the hood low over his face. His presence was enough to freeze her blood. It was Varric, the messenger of the Shadow Court. Serenia, his voice rasped, low and sharp like a blade drawn from its sheath. You have been silent. She bowed her head quickly, masking the storm inside her. The mission continues. The prince has noticed me. He trusts me. Varric stepped closer, his eyes glowing faintly red beneath the hood. Trust is not enough. The court grows impatient. You were sent to uncover the strength of their army, the cracks in their defenses, the secrets of their throne. Where are these secrets? Serenia swallowed. She could feel the weight of the silver star pressing against her skin, hidden beneath her sleeve. I need more time, she said carefully. The prince is cautious. To force answers too quickly will raise suspicion. Varric's lip curled. Time? You think the court gave you this mission for your pleasure? You are a weapon, Serenia. Do not forget it. If you fail, your blood will be drained as payment for your weakness. Her body stiffened, but she kept her face calm. I will not fail. Varric leaned close, his whisper cold as death. Then prove it. By the next moonrise, bring us something. A weakness. A secret. Anything. If not, you will not live to see another dawn. With that, he slipped back into the shadows, leaving the chamber colder than before. Serenia sank onto the bed, her hands trembling. For centuries she had obeyed without question. The court's word was law. Their will was her breath. But now there was Kaelin. The prince's voice echoed in her mind. Because you looked at me as if I were more than a crown. Her throat tightened. She pressed the star to her chest, its coolness steady against her racing heart. How could she betray him? But how could she defy the court? The next day, Kaelin found her in the castle gardens again. His face brightened when he saw her, though shadows still lingered in his eyes. Serenia, he greeted warmly. I hoped you would return. She forced a smile, though her heart was heavy. And why is that, my lord? Kaelin chuckled softly. Because in you I find no masks. Everyone around me wears one. The counselors flatter, the nobles scheme, the servants whisper. But you speak as if I am simply a man, not a prince. Her chest ached at his words. If only he knew the truth, that she wore the greatest mask of all. They walked among the roses, their petals glistening with morning dew. Kaelin spoke of his father, the ailing king whose illness grew worse with each passing day. He spoke of the council divided by greed and fear. He spoke of his dreams, not of war or conquest, but of peace between kingdoms, of a land where no child went hungry. Serenia listened silently, torn apart inside. Each word he spoke drew her closer, made her heart betray her mission more. At last, Kaelin paused, turning to her. You're quiet today. Tell me what weighs on you. Her breath caught. She had spent centuries hiding her thoughts, speaking only what the mission demanded. Yet now, under his gaze, the mask cracked. She hesitated. I do not belong here. Sometimes I wonder if I walk on borrowed ground, if one day all will crumble beneath me. Kaelin's expression softened. Then you are not alone. I feel the same each day. Every step I take, I wonder if it will be my undoing. Every choice feels like a blade at my throat. But still I walk. Because I must, his honesty shook her. She wanted to tell him everything, her mission, her chains, her fear. She wanted to confess that she was not the woman he thought she was. But the memory of Varric's words clawed at her. If you fail, you will not live to see another dawn. Her lips sealed shut. Kaelin reached out, taking her hand gently. His touch was warm, steady. Whatever your burden, you do not have to carry it alone. Her chest tightened. She should have pulled away. She should have remembered who she was. But instead she let his hand hold hers. For the first time she felt the warmth of trust, of comfort, and she feared it more than death. That night Serenia wandered the castle halls, restless. Her thoughts clashed like swords. Tell him the truth, her heart whispered. Betray him, her duty demanded. At last she found herself standing outside Kaelin's private chamber. The door was slightly open, and the faint glow of candlelight spilled into the corridor. She hesitated, then pushed it open. Kaelin sat at a wooden table, papers and maps spread before him. His brow was furrowed, his eyes tired. When he looked up and saw her, his face softened. Serenia, he said, rising. You should be resting. She stepped inside, closing the door. And you should be sleeping, my lord. He gave a weary smile. A prince has little time for rest. The kingdom is fragile, and I cannot ignore its weight. Her gaze drifted to the maps. She recognized them at once: defense lines, troop movements, the kingdom's hidden strengths. Her mission screamed at her, "This is what you need. This is what the court demands." If she took even a glance, if she remembered even one line, she could return to the court with victory. But Kalen trusted her. He had let her into his private chamber, into the place where he carried his burdens alone. Her throat burned. She turned her eyes away. Kalen stepped closer. "What brings you here at this hour?" Her lips trembled. She wanted to say the truth, that she was a spy, that she should not be here, that she was his enemy. But when she met his gaze, all she saw was kindness. Instead, she whispered, "I could not sleep." Kalen's eyes softened. He guided her to a chair and poured her a cup of water. "Then stay a while. Sometimes silence shared is better than restless thoughts alone." They sat together in the candlelight. Neither spoke much, yet the quiet between them was not heavy. It was gentle, comforting, like a shield against the weight of the world. For the first time in her long existence, Serenia felt peace, but peace could not last. When she returned to her chamber before dawn, she found a shadow waiting. Varric again, his eyes burning. "You had your chance," he hissed. "And yet you return with nothing. Do you dare defy the court?" Serenia stood frozen, the silver star still hidden at her chest. Varric's voice sharpened. "Tomorrow you will bring us the secrets of Eloria's defenses, or the court will tear the prince apart, and you with him." He vanished, leaving only cold silence. Serenia sank to the floor, her hands shaking. She had to choose: her people, her duty, her survival, or Kalen, his trust, his fragile dream of peace. Between duty and heart, the night was closing in. The castle was quiet, wrapped in the pale silver light of dawn. Serenia sat at her window staring at the horizon. Her heart was heavy, her thoughts tangled. She had only one night left before the Shadow Court demanded their proof. One night to decide if she was still their spy, or if she had become something else entirely. The silver star the prince had given her lay against her chest. She held it tightly, as if it were the only thing keeping her from falling apart. "What will I do?" she thought. "If I give the court his secrets, Kalen will fall. If I refuse, they will destroy me." And him, her mind felt like a battlefield. Duty and love clashed again and again, leaving her breathless. Later that morning, Kalen called for her. He was standing in the library, surrounded by shelves heavy with old books. His green eyes lit up when she entered, though weariness still pulled at the corners of his face. "Serenia," he greeted softly. "I hoped you would come." She bowed slightly, trying to hide the storm in her heart. "You asked for me, my lord?" Kalen smiled faintly. "You do not need to call me lord when it is only us. To you I wish to be just Kalen." Her chest tightened. "Just Kalen. Not a prince, not a target, not a mission. Just a man." He gestured for her to sit with him at the long oak table. Maps and letters were spread across its surface. "I trust you," he said simply, "so I will show you what few others see. These are the defenses of Eloria, our troops, our borders, our allies, the truth of our strength, and our weakness." Her breath caught. These were the very secrets the Shadow Court demanded. She had only to look, to remember, and her mission would be fulfilled. But Kalen looked at her with steady eyes, not a trace of suspicion. His voice was calm, sincere. "You came into my life like a shadow," he said.
"Yet I feel lighter when you are near."
"I cannot explain it, but I do not doubt it. You have no reason to help me, and yet I feel as though you would never betray me." The words pierced her like a blade. She lowered her eyes quickly, afraid he would see the truth written on her face. "Why would you trust me so easily?" she whispered. Kalen leaned back, folding his hands. "Because I have spent my whole life surrounded by people who want power. They all wear masks, but you carry sorrow in your eyes. You do not seek crowns or titles. You speak with honesty, even when you say little. That is worth more to me than any oath." Serenia's throat burned. He saw her sorrow, but not its cause. He saw her mask, but thought it truth. And that trust, his innocent, fragile trust, was the one thing she could not bear to break. Her hands shook as she forced herself to look at the maps. Her memory, sharp and trained, began to trace every line, every note. She hated herself for it, but she could not stop. If she failed the court, Kalen's life would be destroyed anyway. But as her eyes swept over the papers, Kaylin's voice broke the silence. There is something else I want to share. She looked up quickly, startled. He reached into his cloak and pulled out a folded letter. His hand trembled slightly as he placed it on the table. This is my greatest secret, he said softly. It is a letter I wrote but never sent. A plea for peace, not just for Eloria, but for all kingdoms, even those who hate us. Even the ones who live in shadows. Her blood froze. Shadows, did he mean her people? Kaylin continued, his voice steady but full of longing. I am tired of war, tired of blood. If I could, I would lay down every sword in Eloria. I would trade every banner for peace. But my council calls me a dreamer. They say peace is weakness. They say enemies cannot change. He looked at her, his eyes searching. But I believe they can, do you? Serenia's lips parted, but no words came. He dreams of peace, even for us. Even for the vampires, her vision blurred. She had been taught that humans were greedy, cruel, and blind. But here was their prince offering hope where she had never dared to imagine it. Her heart whispered, tell him the truth. Tell him who you are. Tell him before it is too late. But fear choked her voice. If she spoke, would he still look at her with kindness? Or would he see only an enemy? That night, Serenia could not rest. She wandered the silent halls, her cloak wrapped tightly around her. The memory of Kaylin's words haunted her. His trust, his kindness, his dream of peace. It was everything she had never believed in. But when she returned to her chamber, she found Varric waiting once more. His cloak spread like wings of darkness, his eyes glowing cruelly. Well, he hissed, have you seen the defenses? Serenia froze. The silver star lay warm against her chest, but it could not shield her now. Yes, she whispered, her voice trembling. Then speak. Varric stepped closer, his presence pressing against her like a blade at her throat. Every detail, every weakness. Tell me and you may yet live. Her lips trembled. She could remember every line, every map, every word. But Kaylin's face filled her mind, his voice echoing. Because you looked at me as if I were more than a crown. She clenched her fists. No, she whispered. Varric's eyes narrowed. What did you say? I will not betray him. Her voice shook, but it carried strength. I cannot. Varric's mouth twisted into a snarl. You fool. You think the prince will spare you when he learns what you are? You think his kindness is real? You are nothing but a weapon, and if you refuse to serve, you will be destroyed. He lunged forward, his hand snapping around her wrist. Cold power burned through her veins, and she gasped. But even as pain seared her, she clutched the star at her chest. Its silver light glimmered faintly, weak but steady. No, she said again, stronger this time. I am not your weapon anymore. Varric's eyes blazed with fury. Then you are dead. Before she could move, he vanished into smoke, leaving only the echo of his rage. Serenia collapsed to the floor, her breath ragged. She knew then that the court would not forgive her. She had turned against them and they would come for her and for Kaylin. She had no choice left. She had to tell him the truth. The next evening, Serenia found Kaylin in the tower room, gazing out at the setting sun. His shoulders were heavy, his expression distant. But when he saw her, his face softened. Serenia, he said warmly, I was hoping you would come. Her heart broke. He trusted her so deeply, so blindly. She stepped forward, her hands trembling. Kaylin, there is something I must tell you, something I should have told you from the beginning. He turned to her, his green eyes calm. What is it? Tears burned her eyes. She opened her mouth, but the words refused to come. How could she tell him she was a vampire? That she had come as his enemy? That every moment with him had begun as a lie? Her throat closed. She wanted to speak, but fear gripped her. Kaylin stepped closer, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. Whatever it is, Serenia, I will listen. I will not turn away. Her heart shattered. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe that his kindness would not fade, even when he knew the truth. She drew a deep breath, tears slipping down her cheeks. I am not who you think I am, she whispered. Kaylin's eyes softened, but he said nothing. Waiting. I was sent here, she continued, her voice breaking. Not as a guest. Not as a friend. I was sent as a spy. His breath caught, but he did not move away. I came to steal your secrets, she said, choking on the words. I came to betray you. But I cannot. I cannot hurt you. Not anymore. The silence that followed was heavy. Serena lowered her head, unable to bear his gaze. At last, Kalen spoke, his voice quiet but steady. You were sent as my enemy. And yet here you are telling me the truth when you could have kept lying. Her tears fell harder. Do you not hate me? Kalen's hand lifted, gently brushing away a tear from her cheek. I could never hate you, Serena, he said softly, because I see your heart, and it is not my enemy. She broke then, sobbing quietly, clinging to his hand as though it were her only anchor. The truth was out. The secret was unveiled. And though the night ahead promised danger and war, for the first time Serena felt free. The first light of dawn crept over the castle towers, painting the sky in pale gold and soft pink. Serena stood at the edge of the balcony, the cool morning wind tangling her dark hair. Her heart raced with a mix of fear and hope. The previous night had changed everything. She had revealed the truth to Kalen, her mission, her identity, her loyalty to the Shadow Court. Yet instead of anger, he had offered forgiveness. Instead of fear, he had shown trust. And for the first time in centuries, Serena felt something she had never truly known. Freedom, but freedom came with a price. The Shadow Court would not forgive her betrayal. They would come for her. They would come for Kalen. And she could not run from the consequences of her choice. Kalen appeared beside her on the balcony, his green eyes soft, warm. You look troubled, he said quietly. Serena shook her head.
I am not troubled by you, Kalen.
I am troubled by what I must face. The court will not forgive me. They will strike soon, and they will not spare this kingdom. Or you. Kalen took her hand gently, intertwining their fingers. Then we face it together, he said. You are not alone, Serena. I will not let them harm you if I can stop it. Her chest tightened. She had lived for centuries in shadows, relying only on herself. To hear such words from a human prince, someone she had come to betray, felt impossible. Yet here he was, offering his strength. I have made my choice, she whispered. I cannot betray you. I cannot harm those who trust me. Kalen squeezed her hand. Then we will find a way. Together. By mid-morning, the castle was awake, and the first signs of danger appeared. Shadows shifted unnaturally around the walls, as though the air itself carried the will of the Shadow Court. Serena's senses sharpened. She could feel their power, a cold weight pressing down from beyond the castle gates. We need to act quickly, she said, turning to Kalen. The court will not wait. They will strike before the day ends. Kalen nodded, determination flashing in his eyes. Then we prepare. We gather the council. We strengthen the defenses. And most importantly, we protect those who cannot protect themselves. Serena marveled at his courage. Though young, he bore the weight of an entire kingdom on his shoulders, and yet he still thought of others first. Together, they moved through the castle, organizing guards, fortifying gates, and sending messages to loyal allies. For the first time, Serena was not a spy in the shadows. She was a partner, a guide, a protector, and for the first time she felt purpose beyond the orders of the Shadow Court. As evening approached, the first emissaries of the Shadow Court arrived. They were not human. Their forms were cloaked in darkness, their eyes glowing faintly red. They moved with precision, striking with speed and strength. Serena stepped forward to meet them, her heart steady. She had trained for centuries, and now she fought not for the court, but for Kalen, for the kingdom, for the trust he had placed in her. You have betrayed us. Serena, hissed the leader, his voice like ice. You will pay for your failure. I have chosen, she said calmly. I will not betray the prince. I will not serve the court's cruelty. The battle began. Shadows clashed against steel, magic against strength. Serena moved with agility and grace, her centuries of training guiding her every move. But this time she did not fight in silence or secrecy. She fought to protect, to save, to defend. Kalen was by her side, leading his guards with courage. He was not a vampire, but his heart was brave, his mind sharp. He gave orders, inspired loyalty, and never wavered even when the shadows pressed close. Together they were unstoppable. Serena realized that for all her life she had fought alone, but now she had allies, trust, and something worth protecting. The battle raged until the moon rose high, silver and luminous. The Shadow Court's emissaries had been driven back, retreating into the darkness from which they came. The castle gates were safe, the people unharmed, and Kalen's throne secure, for now. Serena collapsed onto the balcony, exhaustion pressing into every bone. Kaelin came to her side offering water and a soft smile. "You fought well," he said simply. "You fought well too," she replied, her voice weak but full of gratitude. I could not have done this alone." Kaelin lifted her hand to his lips, pressing his forehead to hers. "You are not alone anymore, and you never will be." For the first time, Sirenia allowed herself to hope that they could survive, that the kingdom could flourish, that perhaps a vampire and a human could stand together in a world built on fear and hatred. In the days that followed, Sirenia and Kaelin worked to rebuild the kingdom. Trust had been tested and fear still lingered, but together they inspired hope. The nobles saw strength not only in the prince but in the mysterious woman by his side. And the people began to believe that peace could exist, even between worlds long-thought enemies. Sirenia had expected to return to shadows, to obey commands without question, to live without freedom or choice. Instead, she found something she had never known, a place where she belonged, a life she could shape and a heart that could feel without guilt. One evening, as the sun set in a sky of pink and gold, Kaelin and Sirenia stood at the highest tower of the castle. The wind carried the scent of flowers and the promise of a new day. "You have changed everything," Kaelin said softly, gazing at her. "Not just the kingdom, but me. And perhaps even your people." Sirenia looked at him, the silver star resting over her heart. "I have only done what I should have done long ago," she replied. "I chose what was right, even if it meant defying everything I had been taught." Kaelin smiled, lifting her hand once more. "Then I will choose you, Sirenia. Not for your power, not for your knowledge, but because of your heart, because of who you are." Her eyes filled with tears and she leaned into him, feeling for the first time in centuries that she was safe. Not from enemies, not from danger, but safe in the warmth of trust and love. The dawn broke over the castle towers, golden and bright. Shadows retreated, not only from the walls of Eloria but from Sirenia's heart. She had faced duty, fear, and centuries of training and emerged with a choice that was her own. A choice to love, to protect, and to live freely. And as the first morning light kissed their faces, Sirenia knew that no matter what challenges came next, she would face them with Kaelin by her side. Together they had survived the darkness. Together they would build a future where trust, kindness, and courage could triumph over fear and hatred. For the first time, she was not a spy. She was not a weapon. She was herself, and that was enough. The kingdom of Eloria would remember the dawn of this day for centuries, the day when shadows fell, secrets were unveiled, and a vampire chose her heart over her mission. And in that choice, the world changed forever.